Okay, so this is a topic I've briefly touched upon in some of my other videos, but the amount of gambling present on Roblox, a platform designed for children, is getting out of hand. This shit has gotten so bad that while I was researching statistics for this video, I found a study done by the University of Sydney, which is one of the top 20 best colleges in the world, on how detrimental and predatory some game developers and Roblox executives themselves are when it comes to trying to get as much money out of kids as possible. I mean, some of these quote-unquote games aren't even games. They're actually just casinos, but you look like a Lego. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we have to talk about why this whole thing is such a big issue in the first place. As a dumbass high school student who got an A in a freshman year psych class, I'd say I have just about all the qualifications needed to talk about the psychology behind gambling, addiction, and why exposure to it at a young age can be pretty bad. Gambling functions similarly to any other addictive activity or substance. You get a high or thrill from the risk, and dopamine is released when you win, reinforcing to the brain that what you're doing is a good thing. Even when you lose, this just reinforces the idea that you have to keep going until you win because you can get everything you lost back. The reason this is so bad specifically in children is because their brains are super malleable. The human brain isn't fully developed until well into your 20s. In simple terms, this means that a child who gets hooked on gambling when they are young is much more likely to carry that addiction for potentially the rest of their lives. And it doesn't just stop there. There are studies that connect addiction in one area to addiction in another. So a kid who gets hooked on gambling in a Roblox game could be more likely to get addicted to substance abuse or another harmful activity or something. Roblox is a user-generated platform. This means anyone can make a Roblox account and create a game and also make money if it performs well. On paper, this looks like a great idea. Kids are learning how to develop games and make money as well as just having a good time. The problems arise when you look at some of the upper management issues Roblox has and some of the things that occur off-platform. There is next to zero moderation on what you put in a Roblox game as long as it doesn't 1. Swear, 2. Isn't overly violent, 3. Doesn't infringe on copyright, and even that one's a stretch, or 4. Isn't explicitly sexual. There is nothing against having predatory advertisements, microtransactions, or other practices meant to encourage kids to spend as much money as possible. Another problem comes with these off-platform communities. These communities are run entirely by the developers of the games on Roblox. Roblox is not involved with them at all. This leaves moderating a community of potentially thousands of children up to teenage and young adult developers. There are just so many problems with this, but today we're only going to be focusing on the ones that are monetary. Even in games that don't have gambling that requires the spending of Robux, there are off-platform Discord servers or websites known as black markets. These are places where you can exchange real money for in-game items that the other people in the game have purchased. These are very clearly against Roblox terms of service, but they still exist and are still a problem. Alright people, now's the time you've all been waiting for. Say goodbye to the Spider-Man footage for now because we're going to be looking at a couple games and genres that are taking exploiting children to the next level. Quick disclaimer before we go any further, I'm obviously not saying that every anime game on the platform is doing this. I'm not going to be saying that for any of the genres I talk about. I just pick genres that I think have the most widespread problems. So just because a game you like falls into one of these categories doesn't mean I'm explicitly talking about it. It's just part of a genre that's part of the problem. Okay, but with that out of the way, we're going to start in one of the most popular game genres on Roblox. Anime games. I don't know how or why, but almost all of these games have grown to completely rely on gambling for their progression, and somehow literally everyone is okay with it. You could probably name any single show and I could find you a gambling simulator disguised as a game. Attack on Titan? We've got one. Naruto? We've got one. One Piece, Bleach, Jujutsu Kaisen? We've got a lot more than one, but I don't really have time to go over all of them. I'll use a super recent example. Ghoul-Re is a game that came out a few months ago, and the whole progression system for abilities is based solely on gambling. Also, I have an SSS rated Ghoul account just for this video, and I have read the whole Tokyo Ghoul manga, so I better not see any dipshits in the comments telling me that I don't have enough playtime or I haven't seen the source material. In Ghoul-Re, you spawn with a random Kagane or Quinkyu, which are the weapons used by the Ghoul and human factions respectively. The only way you can get a new weapon is by spending Ghoul points to get a random ability. Ghoul points are completely ridiculous. You can either purchase them with Robux or get them in-game at an extremely low rate. And don't give me any of that just use codes bullshit. Codes are a method devs use to keep you hooked on gambling. It's a tactic used to make you sit there just waiting for the next update so you can get that one ability you really wanted. Seriously though, what happened to games letting you earn and progress towards the abilities you want instead of letting random chance decide your fate? Let's ignore all of the ethical problems. This is just a bad game design decision. Why can someone who just spawned in get lucky and get the best ability in the game, while someone who's been playing for a week and has had bad luck is still stuck with a starter ability? How does that make any sense at all? Most people who have been around on the platform for a while probably knew this was coming. Basically, every new tower defense game that comes out bases all of its progression on a slot machine. Like this game, SpongeBob Tower Defense, for example. This is obviously geared towards children, and they have an actual tower slot machine just sitting in the middle of their lobby, and that's the only way you can get better towers. This wasn't always the case either. If you look at a game like Tower Defense Simulator, which came out a few years ago, they actually have a progression system. You can earn money when you complete missions and then use that money to go into the shop and buy the exact tower you want. No loot boxes, no random chance, and no slot machines. The only thing the game lets you gamble for is cosmetics, which have no real effect on gameplay. It just goes to show that developers can make good progression systems. They are just actively choosing not to because gambling systems pull more money out of the pockets of children who don't know any better. This is by far the most egregious offender on this list. They're called RNG games for a reason. You boot up the game, and every few seconds the game rolls on a slot machine. The whole point of the game is to sit there and watch the game repeatedly gamble. Alright, just bear with me for a second and again, ignore all the ethical problems with a game like this. How did these get players? I mean, like, the game, you don't play the game. The game plays itself. There isn't a game here. And then also, it's not even like you're actually gambling, because the point of gambling is to risk something, and then you get something better back in return. That's what gives you the high. What are you risking here? You're just sitting there watching an animation play every 3 seconds and hoping you get the 1 in 10 quintillion chance item. It also doesn't help that these games are monetized to hell and back. You can use real money to make the game spin faster, get yourself better rates, or just straight up purchase the rare items you sit there and let the game gamble for. I mean, just look at this shit. This is ridiculous. I'm literally not doing anything. I could walk away from my computer, let my auto-clicker gamble for me, and just come back for the dopamine hit. So now you might be sitting here asking, well, Macho Woodchuck, this shit sucks. But what are we supposed to do about it? And the only answer I have is I have no clue. Didn't you hear me earlier when I said I was stupid? But in all seriousness, this is an extremely depressing problem that doesn't really have an easy solution. There is nothing illegal about specifically this aspect of the exploitation children are facing on the platform, and Roblox themselves aren't going to do anything about it because of how much money it makes them. It's a well-established principle that if Roblox has to decide between the safety of their users and their own bottom line, they'll save their wallet every single time. All I can tell you is that in the unlikely event that any adults are actually watching this video and have kids, I cannot believe I'm about to say this, make sure your kids are being financially responsible because these are habits that can carry on into later life. God, I sound old. If you are a kid that plays Roblox and you're watching this right now, you deserve better and you shouldn't settle for the bullshit that's being peddled to you right now. If a game is obviously a minimal effort cash grab, play something else. Something less predatory and something entertaining. If enough people do that, it will force developers to either change or fail monetarily. And finally, if you're a developer behind one of these games, I hope you enjoy all the money you make, because it's coming at the cost of ruining lives. You are psychologically damaging a whole generation of kids, and I think you're a scumbag. Anyways, thanks for listening to my rant. I hope my videos shed a little light on this situation, and I hope one day this video will be completely irrelevant and we won't have this problem anymore. That's all I have to say though. Peace.